Welcome back to the Terps of the BeastCoast. We'll be doing BeastCoast news today. Got a couple bills. What's up, Bill? In our new section we're going to be talking about. So as far as what's going on in the BeastCoast news, let's get into it. Florida. A new political committee wants to make it legal to grow your own cannabis in Florida. Wow, times are really getting crazy, right? Florida wants you to grow your own. They've been against that for a long time. So a political committee has started moving forward with a proposed constitutional amendment that would allow medical cannabis patients and patient caregiver to grow cannabis at home. The Wise and Free Floridian Committee is seeking to get a proposal on the 2024 ballot according to newly posted information on the State Division of Election website. To do so, it would need to submit close to 891,000 valid petition signature. That committee has submitted 291,000 valid signature in the early Friday afternoon. Florida voters in 2016 approved an amendment that authorized the use of medical cannabis. So what that's saying is, this is the same committee that pretty much got the authorization for the use of medical cannabis, and now they're trying to get these said patients to have the ability to grow their own or their caregiver, which it should have went hand in hand, because if you're a patient, not everybody can afford the dispensary prices, but if you can grow your own, it's sometimes the best option for them because they can find what works for them and just grow that particular strain instead of being at the mercy of the dispensary whenever they walk in, if they don't have the favorite one that works for them, or maybe that batch is not growing to that quality that they enjoyed the first time. There's a lot of variables, but I'm glad to see that they're doing that. Back to Massachusetts here. We did have Devin Alexander on the Terps of the BeastCoast as a guest, so if you can, check out that episode. But he is now pretty much 12 years ago, he was arrested for possession. Now, Devin Alexander is a cannabis entrepreneur. When Devin Alexander was a senior in high school, he was arrested in Quincy for the possession of small amounts of cannabis. 12 years later, he's opening his first cannabis delivery business in Newton. Congratulations to him. I'm so proud, especially since he's a social equity, and he's got into the program, and now he's able to open up the door. So, keep on going, guys. If you're a social equity or an economic empowerment, you can do it. I mean, I don't even know what the numbers are, but there's a record amount of social equity, and there's about 120, I think, economic empowerment applicants that only a small fraction actually have been able to get online and to open up their doors. So it's good to see that this is a social equity, and he's actually doing it in the Newton, which is that town is a strange town. So I'm glad that he's able to get what he strived for. Going back to New York. New York is on delivery right now. Just Breathe begins cannabis delivery. Starting this weekend, New York's first legal marijuana, I hate that word, legal cannabis dispensary in upstate will begin bringing the cannabis to your home. Just Breathe on the Court Street in downtown Binghamton is launching a delivery service. It began taking orders online today. All transactions will be prepaid online, as the delivery driver do not carry cash or accept payment in person. The vehicles will have no markings, and those who order the cannabis product must be in here to accept it. So there's more to the article. Just like anything that I go through today, you can always check out my station, and there's a listing with the link so you can check out the full article if you want to know more. So let's jump down to Vermont. State cannabis regulatory seeks information about alleged ties between Russian oligarch and Vermont dispensaries. Vermont Cannabis Control Board has contacted authorities in Massachusetts and Connecticut to find out what, if anything, they have discovered about an apparent connection between a Russian oligarch and a company that operates 2 cannabis stores in Vermont. According to the multiple news reports, Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich, a subject of international sanctions, invested hundreds of millions of dollars in the U.S. cannabis industry. The chief beneficiary, according to those reports, was Curaleaf, a Massachusetts company that owns PhytoCare in Vermont and Binghamton and Vermont Patient Alliance in Montpelier. Pepper says Curaleaf had not mentioned Abramovich when it applied for the integrated license to operate in Vermont's adult recreational cannabis market. Abramovich never appeared in any of their filings, he said. Applicants for license must disclose owners and principals, according to Pepper, including those of ownership interests of 10% or greater. Being untruthful with the board would probably result in revocation of a license, Pepper said. Oh, shit. So Curaleaf might lose their license, based on this information. Again, if you want to know more, I have a full link on the whole story, so you can check it out in the podcast episode. So Virginia lawmakers again unlikely to set up marijuana sales. So in 2021, Virginia became the first southern state to legalize cannabis, adopting a policy change that allowed adults to possess and cultivate the drug. A Republican-led House panel defeated on Tuesday the Democrat-controlled Senate main surviving retail bill, which would have allowed sales to begin next year through existing medical cannabis dispensary and at new retail business in communities that have historically been economically disadvantaged. We are kind of out to dragging our feet on this established retail market that could provide hundreds of millions of dollars in tax revenue, could provide a test product for adults, and could keep out the hands of children, Senator Ed Eben. This bill sponsor said just before the subcommittee defeated the measure. So as of right now, looks like only medical is allowed in the state of Virginia, as far as that goes. So we'll see how things go. Let's go out to Oklahoma. This was a big thing here that probably no one's heard about, but Oklahoma AG takes over prosecution of attorney accused of illegal cannabis operation. Matt Stacy was charged with 13 felony counts in Garvin County District Court last October. An affidavit said Stacy acted as a registered agent for more than 300 LLCs that sought commercial license to grow and sell cannabis, medical cannabis, according to the new release from Attorney General Ginter Drummond's office. The multi-county grand jury indicted Stacy, local attorneys for allegedly obtaining license for cannabis farms, illegal agents for Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics, and Stacy paid state residents to be ghost growers of grow operation for the Chinese organized crime operation and other out-of-state clients. This is a method to evade law that requires Oklahoma residents to own at least 75% of the grow operation, said the release. So, I'm going through some stuff with some shady attorneys. I won't disclose the information because I'm still going through it. But once I do, I will be disclosing who these attorneys are and what they try to do to me. But you got to be careful with some of these attorneys, man. They're shady, They're greed balls, and they want to take things that don't belong to them. And this is a prime example of them here working with organized crime, so be careful. So my news section on the BeastCoast News is What's Going On Bill. Today we'll be talking about 2 bills that are still active. They're still open. They haven't made a decision yet in Vermont and Delaware. And then we're going to talk about 7 bills for Connecticut. So in Vermont, an act relating to lift the potency limits on concentrated cannabis product. The bill purpose to lift the potency limits on cannabis products sold by licensed cannabis retailer. It's pretty much the summary on that one. The next bill, VTS0071. The other one was VTS0072. So 71 is an act relating to malicious amendments to the adult use in medical cannabis program. So basically what they're doing is bill is proposed to repeal Cannabis Control Board Advisory Committee, repeal the sunset of Cannabis Control Board permit, a packaged cannabis product to have a maximum of 100 milligrams of THC, create a new cannabis propagation license, eliminate the requirement that a patient diagnosed with PTSD be engaged with a psychotherapist or counseling with a licensed mental health care provider to qualify for the register, increase the number of cannabis plants and registered patients for patient caregiver may cultivate, eliminate the requirement that caregivers be fingerprinted and have a criminal background, a criminal history record check, but require that the board check the caregiver's name against child protection registration maintained at the Department of Children and Families and against the vulnerability of adult abuse, neglect, and exploitation of register maintained by the Department of Disability. Aging and independent living, allow a caregiver to serve 2 patients, eliminate the register annual renewal fee for patients who have a qualifying condition other than chronic pain, and for a caregiver who serves for those patients, allowing licensed cannabis establishment, S1, to do business with any other licensed cannabis establishment. Clarify that the licensed cannabis establishment are not required to obtain a license from the Department of Liquor or Lottery to sell tobacco paraphernalia. Establish 3 new positions with the Cannabis Control Board, Cannabis Equity Control Program, and appropriate $850,000 for the position and equipments. So kudos to Vermont. They're making some shake-up on their rules and regulation. Hopefully, this will go through. In regards to that, let's jump into Delaware in regards to what's going on, Bill. So the Act to amend Titles 4, 11, 16, and 30 of the Delaware Code relating to creation of Delaware Marijuana Control Act. That's going to be DEHB2. Now, DEHB1 is the Act to amend Title 16 of the Delaware Code relating to cannabis. This act removes all penalties for the use of possession of personal use quality or marijuana, of cannabis and cannabis accessories. It further specifies that the adult sharing of a personal use quality or less of cannabis is legal activity for those 21 years and older, and those 21 older may possess, use, display, purchase, transport, accessories, and personal use quantities of cannabis without penalty. When transporting in a vehicle, those items must be in a closed container, otherwise not readily accessible to anyone inside the vehicle. The statute also specifies certain activities which remain unlawful. Finally, the definition of personal use quantity of cannabis is updated to include not only 1 ounce or less of leaf cannabis, but also equivalent amounts of cannabis product in other form. So kudos to Delaware for, clarifying what you can do as an adult. This is still an active bill. It hasn't closed out yet. It hasn't passed yet. So this is what they're trying to amend to it. So if you're in a Delaware state, make sure you reach out to your representative and let them know how you feel about it. And then in regards to Connecticut, so Connecticut is going through some craziness in the bills, because I'm going to talk to you about a couple bills. It's different bill numbers, but it's the same thing. So we'll talk about the first ones that are not the same thing, and then we'll finish up with the others that are pretty much the same kind of, bill that they're trying to pass, or amendments that they're trying to add to bills or regulation. So the first one up is CTHBO 5434, the Act of Concerning the Regulation of Cannabis, to provide a greater parity between the state's regulation of cannabis and its regulation of other regulated substance. Okay. The next one is Connecticut HBO 57, the act of concerning modification for sentence based on or enhanced due to cannabis offense, right? The bill summary is that to effectuate sentence modification for individuals serving a sentence of incarceration or supervised release on a controlled cannabis offense whose sentence was extended due to the sentence of enhancement related to the cannabis offense. What does that sound like? Sound like a whole bunch of... All right, let me stop. Connecticut, HBO 5728. An act concerning establishment of cannabis cafe and restaurants offering cannabis-infused food items. So kudos to Connecticut. They're already thinking about the future. Here in Massachusetts, we do have it, but it's a pilot program, so it's not rolled out yet. I hope that, Massachusetts gets it going before other states, but I believe in Vegas you can. So, if it's done right, you can definitely enjoy infused foods. But, I understand that never everybody has a tolerance. And then some people who try it for the first time, it might not be the best way for them to. I would say if you've never had infused food, don't go out and do it. Maybe try it in a home. That way in a more comfortable setting. And then when you feel as though that you can handle it, then you can go out. Other than that, let's get to the next bill, which is HBO 6094, an act repealing the Responsible and Equitable Regulation of Adult Use of Cannabis Act. Wow. All right, so they're trying to repeal the responsible. They're trying to mess with the adult use and the equitable regulation. So there's not much on the summary on it. That's just maybe what the bill is. The next bill here is pretty much the next few bills is what I'm talking about. These three bills are pretty much the same thing. So this one, and I think they do this intentionally so you don't know what it's like here, it's like the game where you put the ball underneath the cup and you're just moving it around, which bill, which cup, which bill. So here we have Connecticut HBO 6268. The act of concerning motor vehicle stops and the odor of cannabis, to allow police officers to use odor of cannabis as a basis for motor vehicle stop and search. So, once things kind of change in Connecticut with the laws for cannabis, that kind of threw out that thing where, I smell something, that's why I pulled you over. So now they're trying to amend it where they can still say, hey, I smell cannabis and da-da-da. So I think it's a bunch of baloney. Here's the other one, same type of thing, right? It's Connecticut SB 00232, the act concerning traffic stops for suspected cannabis use by drivers and tests for detection of cannabis use by drivers. So suspected cannabis use. So they can just be like, I suspected you of cannabis. I'm going to pull you over. To promote public safety by enhancing the enforcement of driving while under the influence of cannabis. So this one is more where they're saying, we felt as though that, he was underneath the influence, we smelt it, and, it just compiles onto this next bill. The other bill is CTHBO 5460, the act of repealing restrictions on cannabis-related stops or search of a person of motor vehicle. So basically, it kind of ties in the HBO 628 and the SB 0023, and also we'll say those two bills kind of tie together with this one underneath the Connecticut HBO 546, the act of repealing restriction, right? So the bill says to restore the ability of law enforcers to use the odor of cannabis as a basis to support an investigatory stop or search a person or a motor vehicle. So if they see you and you're like, let's say if somebody had on like a cannabis brand shirt, we're just going to, even if you have the picture of the leaf, I suspect you, so I'm just going to search you. Or if they see the motor vehicle has a sticker, I suspect you, I'm just going to search you. Or, they can start up an investigatory kind of stop. And, I suspect that something is going on. You pulled out of this area right here where we know that there is a cannabis store. So we believe that you're underneath the influence when you went to pick it up. Or, it pretty much opens the door for them to harass cannabis users underneath the adult market. It's kind of sad, but it's true. Connecticut, it's a rough state when it comes to cannabis back in the day. And with the changing of laws and regulation, it probably brought down some quotas in certain neighborhoods because they weren't able to use cannabis as the, saying, hey, you're underneath the influence, or I smell cannabis, so I'm going to pull you over. So, that's what's going on right now in regards to what's going on, Bill. Again, if you like what you hear, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, share, turn on the notification. And I thank you for tuning in to the Terps of the BeastCoast. We'll catch you next week.